Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending this McHenry County Board of Health Personnel Committee public meeting on October 22nd, 2024. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:32 p.m. Do we have any public participation? Oh, we have one more member. All right.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey.
Checking for public participation. No public participation, great. Okay. First up on the docket then is, next up will be approval of minutes. We have some minutes before us from October 7th, 2024. Darlene has notified us that there was a slight change. My name was replaced with Joe Clark's initially, so that's been corrected. That's the only change to the minutes. I feel that is obviously close enough. We're approving these new updated minutes. There's no other change to the substance, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes.
Great.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as, second? Did you motion?
Yeah.
I second it.
All right. Yep.
Sorry, I was dreaming over
No,
here.
it's all good.
That's all right. You're my
Motion by Ms. Borowski, second by Ms. Altoff. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Say nay? No? Okay. Ayes have it. On to new and unfinished business. Last thing we were discussing before, 4A, the personnel policy manual updates.
You gonna cover it, Ken?
Oh, sure.
Thanks.
So, in regard to the confidentiality language for harassment, hostile work environment, we did talk to the state's attorney, and he said that is appropriate language. We can either keep the current language, which does match the county personnel policy as well, or we could change it to any suggested things. But what he wants to make sure is that we do not suggest that confidentiality is guaranteed, because it is not, especially if it goes to litigation. So we can keep it as is, if you'd like to do that, or soften the language, whichever you prefer.
Cecilia, I think, did you have the primary concern on that last time? Forgive me, I don't remember offhand.
No, I was gonna say, I wasn't having the main concern, so I'm fine with the way it is. So I can't remember who.
Oh, Juliana?
I think it was Juliana.
I didn't,
No.
but yeah, if we use the same language as the county does, it's fine.
Okay.
So we're good
So,
there.
we're okay with no change?
Yes.
Okay. Were there other?
There was one other question regarding the FMLA leave being 12 weeks if you're a married couple and work for the county. We did contact HR, and this is part of the federal law and the wording too. So what it means though, 12 weeks shared is for bonding time only. So the mother, after having a child, gets to take her first 6 weeks for the birth and any time after that, and then an additional 6 for bonding, where her husband then could take, or partner could take another 6. So it's really 18 if you look at it for bonding time.
Okay.
12 for bonding time. The mother gets the 12 weeks FMLA and the father gets 6 weeks bonding. So.
Okay, so she's not giving up her 12 weeks.
Correct, she is not giving up 6.
Oh, okay, well, no, that's fair.
Okay. And it's really a total of 12 weeks, maybe, well, 6 weeks together, right? 6
Yeah.
weeks for mom, and then spouse has to continue working or whatever. And then when those 6 weeks are up, then they can take, well, at any time during there, the bonding, that 6
He
weeks.
could take
should
it
be-
the first 6 weeks, then, you know,
Right.
the second, depending
Okay.
on how they want to work it out. But they do, the bonding time is 12 weeks only, not FMLA for maternity.
Okay,
I see.
wonderful.
That seemed to answer your question.
Yes.
Great. So with those two issues, I don't believe, I want to check, were there any other minutes and those work schedules, leave of absence, confidentiality issues. So I think that covers that. Was there anything else about work schedules and leave of absence that were about the baby bonding and pregnancy?
Those are the ones that we followed up with and checked with the state's attorney on, based on the prior conversation.
Okay, Ruby, unless anybody else has any other questions, concerns, do we feel comfortable making a motion to send this to the full board for approval?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Second.
second, she beat you. So there's a motion by Ms. Altoff and a second by Ms. Morowski to what's the correct language here? To recommend to the full Board of Health that they approve the personnel policy manual updates. I don't know if there's any financial impact in there. We'll just get away with a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to 4B, bilingual pay.
Okay, I think I have enough. I'll give you guys a first and then, okay. So in the packet is the actual resolutions that have gone through. What I'm passing out is just a potential draft that I reviewed with county. The thing that needs to be double checked are the amounts, and that's why I have a spreadsheet here that I can just walk through with everybody. So essentially what we need to do, the first two resolutions were not as explicit on the amount. The first one is written that it was going to be $79,000 added to base pay. And then it says that's going to continue through 2026. The next one is the administrative change to switch it from adding into base pay to stipend pay, okay? So,
You're saying the second one, where is?
oh, I'm sorry, it's in the packet.
Oh,
Everything else is in the packet,
Got it.
page, blah, blah, blah. It's gonna be pretty far down there. Let me find the page for you.
240 for me.
Page 40.
140, I think.
I'm still in personnel policies.
yes, all right.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you the reference point of what has already happened. And in talking with finance, they are recommending that we stick with a stipend. And that's not how we wrote the second one. The administrative change was going to be temporary because it creates some challenges with grants and simply, showing up on the paycheck. There's just a stipend amount now. It's very simple, very straightforward. But that is not how we wrote the second one. We said it would revert back to base pay starting in January of 2027. And they are encouraging us and recommending that we maintain a stipend amount. Now, where it gets a little tricky is right now the amounts are $3,000 and $1,500. The $3,000 is for interpretation and $1,500 is for translation. Right now the projections are we have 24 interpreters and 3 translators. So you can see in column 1 what actually got paid out in 23 was $23,925. We're estimating by the end of this year, we're going to be at $68,1527. That is where the second resolution to remain consistent with the first resolution on base pay, we added merit to both their base pay and stipend. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You added the merit, the 3.5% merit increase to the stipend?
Yes, because when you think about it, when we added it first into base pay, right, it was going to grow with that base pay. So when we took it out, we would be changing the original intent of the resolution, and they wouldn't get that gain of that $3,000 or $4,500 added to their base pay. So a decision was made so that by the time we get to 2027, that same growth would have happened, and then that would get added to their base pay. Are we all?
And this also then counts for pension benefits or any of those kinds of things?
Yeah, we'd all just go
Yeah.
right into base pay.
Okay.
And I think when we originally presented the bilingual pay, there were several scenarios. I think there was a lot of discussion about how to facilitate that. Is it going to be a stipend? Is it base pay? So I think we walked through all of those scenarios. We landed on base pay. Then because of the burden, in part because of the burden it would put on the grants, and also for fiscal to report out, for finance, county finance to report out on those ARPA funds, it's very difficult to do when it's embedded into base pay. So we switched it to stipend, but now what we really need to do to kind of fix it for the long term is to maintain it as a stipend, but what we're proposing, because of the change in pay, is to just go up a little bit to account for the change. So we're suggesting that going forward, starting in '25, we would bump it up to $3,250 for interpreters and $1,600 for translators. So you can kind of see, hopefully to the right, the difference between the first scenario, which is our current system, and the proposed system. We're really talking about a change in $1,236.22. The resolution amount, the reason I have two resolutions amount is because I need to double check with Carrie about the original 79. If we account for that, I think we only need to add 5,500. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then it's gonna, go ahead.
Just say, this one you gave us is different as.
So that's just a draft for you to review.
The two other ones that are, there's two in here, are there not?
Those other two are actually the actual resolutions that have gone through. I thought the
They're signed,
context would
yeah.
be important.
Alright,
So is it gonna stay at 32 for indefinite, or I guess until we increase it again?
Correct.
Okay.
That would be the proposal.
Okay.
forgive me, why increase it over the 3 and 1,500 that we previously, because of?
Because if we take away the merit growth on the stipend, this puts them almost to where they would be at the end of 2026.
It doesn't reduce their salary.
It doesn't
instead.
reduce, it's like
I see.
adjusting for what they wouldn't be getting in merit.
I see. But merit.
And then we would stop, there would be no merit starting in 2025. They get merit on their regular salary.
Yeah.
And then they would just get the bump in the stipend. And we have the dollars budgeted already in ARPA.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember a lot, we went back and forth on this issue somewhat at length, and I think there's pros and cons to both sides. It actually helps make it clearer if finance has an issue with it in deploying it or just like using it correctly or showing it effectively, so that's nice. I know Joe at length, you know, his preference was that they would get a check that was like, thank you for your service, and here's your, you know, thing, and that it kind of gets lost in the every paycheck sort of deal. So I don't know, is this gonna still be on every paycheck as a?
Okay, so we did talk a little bit about that. Whether it's 26 paychecks or one lump sum, it's the same, it gets taxed the same way. I think what will happen though is if someone goes, right, so if they're doing these services every day, if somebody leaves, then we have to retro all of that back. Right? You don't have to be here the whole year, you'd have to retro pay it. So I think in the end, it's gonna work out the same. We have been doing it across the paychecks. I haven't heard anyone, you know, opposed to that.
You're saying retro, if they leave early, we're gonna have to try and get our money back that we paid
No,
them
no, no.
for.
What I'm saying is, if the board wishes to pay them in a lump sum, but the agreement is you're doing these services for us, but we're not actually paying you every paycheck, then when they are termed, whether on their own, right? No matter when they leave the county, we have to retro pay them back for all of that time.
I see. So if they're here half the year, then they would need half.
Of course.
For half,
Yeah. Versus you're just getting it as you go.
Kind of, do you want the money now, or do you want to wait?
Yeah.
And they have been getting it now, so that would be a departure from
Yeah.
what staff have gotten used to.
I'm relatively, you know, have very little preference on it, going back and forth, but I think Joe makes a good, that's why I bring it up, because he was persuasive with me about the philosophy about it, where it's like, here, it's almost Christmas time, boom, here's a check, thanks for your service. However, we have been doing it this way. I don't know if anybody else has a strong opinion one way or the other.
Except our fiscal year goes from
December.
December.
Mhm.
So again, you're right, the check would come at Christmas time, right? If we held the stipend and it was one lump sum, we did it at the end of the calendar year, or the fiscal year.
So like, yeah,
So you would know that
November
the people had provided those services,
30th.
right?
Yeah,
So I'm saying you provide the services all year and then you get the lump sum at the end.
yeah, that's basically what he's talking about.
Or you want the money today.
And make a recognition of it,
I
right?
get that.
Like someone, you get he was talking about a handwritten letter sent to you, and I'm like, all right, now we're talking about postage. I'm thinking even just your supervisor or someone thanking you, there's not that many of them.
I get it. I hand it at work, I wouldn't send it in the mail.
Yeah,
Postage.
oh, yeah, right, but also kind of advertise to your colleagues, like, hey, thank you for your help. I'm very curious, has the program continued to work as we hoped? Are people interested in it? Are people testing for it?
Yeah, so when we have new people come on board who have those skills, then the directors can recommend them for testing. We haven't utilized the language line, correct, for Spanish
Yeah.
since we started doing
Since we
this.
started this for budget.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Do we have any anecdotal outcomes with that? Like, people have reported it's working well?
Well, I mean, I'll just give you an example, like today, we had someone come into health administration, and we had to call down and bring somebody up from environmental who speaks Spanish to help serve that client who came in for vital records.
It's pretty cool.
And then we have, we are only down to one translator, but I think
We have two right now.
We have two.
But we'll be down to one.
that's not the interpretation, so not the oral, the translation is the
Right.
written.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
3 translators lives up here now.
Well, because we need to budget for
Oh,
Just in case.
going
the
forward.
budget for that.
Yeah, just,
Got it.
yeah, we're just budgeting for the.
I see.
Yep.
My mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it going like a little bit at a time. I just think like with my job, I get my year-end bonus and then you just see like, you see it one line, half of it went to taxes. It's to me, a little depressing. But if you see that little bit, it's not so depressing, you know what I mean? Because you're not gonna see this lump sum.
I love this
And it-
whole philosophy. Everything we talk about, it's a philosophy.
It is, I think it
It
breaks
is,
down
it
to like
is.
$115 per check.
Yeah, and if
So for somebody, that might make a difference.
especially if they've been depending on it, like maybe they bought a little bit nicer car, knowing they're getting $115 every month, and now we're like, oh wait, now you're gonna get the end of the year, and be like,
I'm always about, give it to me now.
Yeah,
So,
okay, that is a
Let
better,
me use it today.
Yeah.
and I worry less about the car, but what about feeding the kids?
okay.
So
Right.
There you go.
There
That's
you
a
go.
I need it today, not
Right, for
nice.
the cost of
Okay.
living.
Okay,
All right.
that makes it for me, thank
That's
you.
if they didn't,
Sure.
inadequate cost of living raises.
So we have, what you're saying then, there's several options here, but proposed is the,
So what I'm saying is, I'm proposing number 3. Well, for the future, right, the 3250 starting in fiscal year '25 and for fiscal year '26, but we still have to account for making sure we've updated the resolution and appropriating the ARPA dollars, right? That is a big, important piece of this, is making sure that it's appropriated in a way that everybody feels like, yep, it's appropriated.
some behind. the scenes,
Because of the way the previous two were written, it's
Oh.
not crystal clear that that is supposed to be repeated annually every year.
I see.
Okay.
So this is like to clean that up and just put it to bed.
Mhm. And how long will ARPA,
It goes through the end of 2026. And so the resolutions, and this one will say it too, is that beginning January 1st, 2027, it reverts back to the general fund, but the stipend continues, right? The intent is to continue this after the ARPA funds.
cool.
Sounds good. And when do you think we would ever, increase
Oh,
the,
revisit it?
yeah.
That's a good question.
Whenever you want to, Cecilia.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious, like, if people have seen this other places, like how often would be
Yeah,
a good
I think it
time
makes sense to get
to?
through ARPA, but that's just my opinion.
Oh, yeah, I think it'd be
not
too
have
early to
bring
go
back
up,
another
like,
resolution.
I think we could check back on it and see how happy we are with the program, right? If suddenly nobody's taking it and like we're not filling it or we have people, but I think one of the big things that was the synergy from other departments, we're able to use them. I think, if we keep doing that, then that's great. But if you find there's no use for it, then maybe we look at it differently, I don't know.
So is it up in the air between stipend and a bi-weekly check?
No,
So
it's-
this is being paid out in their bi-weekly check now.
Okay. And it will continue that, or?
Yes,
but it will be a
if that's
stipend.
if the board wants to pay it out in 26 pay periods, yes, it would continue bi-weekly.
And even as a stipend, the only difference though is the way it's reported for grants.
So, right, because when it increases their salary and we book salary to a grant, it puts more pressure on those. This can then just stay back and it's its own line, it's easy, payroll can pull a report, it has its own stipend code, and it's very easy then to run a report.
Let's see. Does it affect it in other ways in terms of retirement or taxing, payroll,
That's good.
probably the
I
same,
don't
right?
think, I don't think it's part of,
IMRF probably doesn't.
It would not be, no, if it's a stipend, it would not be part of the base salary and it would not be included as part of their benefit
Okay,
determination amounts at the end.
that's cleaner then too.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions?
I just have one more comment then.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the timing and because, I think when I discussed it with Mr. Clark, he wanted this to come here first because that's how it started. I would propose that if you're comfortable generally with the draft resolution,
Mm-hmm.
I would take it to Public Health and Community Services, then Finance, then Public Health, our Board of Health,
Yeah.
and then, so that it gets approved in November.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be out of order. It's not the first time we've done it. That way I can just circle back with Carrie, make sure that it's all, that she and I agree on the total amounts. And then it would go next week to Public Health, which is the 31st. That way we don't skip a cycle and we have it, because all of this has to be done before the end of December.
Okay.
So I don't want to wait, because I know there's going to be a few other ARPA, and we will, this is not relevant to this group particularly, but it is to the Board of Health. We're going to have our Crystal Lake renovation that we have to bring that resolution forward as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's a smart thing.
So
Sounds
it's just,
good.
it'll just be a little out of order.
Sure.
Just wondering if this should go to the personnel committee or the finance committee as well, but I think probably unnecessary. So you'd have to call one and that would definitely mess up your timeline.
Yeah.
Well, that's up to you. I mean, we would definitely have to call one, then we would not make Public Health.
Mm-hmm.
I could ask the county administrator if they're willing to then just bump it to
No.
finance, get
No.
a shaky no head.
And wouldn't Joe want it to, he would have said, have it go to
Right.
finance, so.
I'm comfortable with this either way. We've already handled this.
Because we already have this, we're not asking for more
Right,
ARPA,
it's not
it's
more,
all.
right,
yeah.
there's no
Right.
change in the actual
Right.
bottom
No.
line, it's just,
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's do we have a motion to recommend this? To, actually, in this case, recommend it to which pathway?
You'd recommend it to Board of Health, I'll just go out of order.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. We have a
Seconded.
She seconded, all right.
All right. So motion by Ms. Eltoff, second by Ms. Borowski to recommend to the Board of Health to approve the resolution authorizing emergency appropriation of the Department of Health's fiscal year 2024 budget in regards to bilingual pay projection.
I know which one, if we're in agreement that it's the 3250 and the 1600. Okay, thank you.
This is a financial matter, so if we could do roll call, please.
Mr. Markison?
Yes.
Ms. Altough?
Yes.
Ms. Carmen?
Yes.
Ms. Morowski? Yes.
Okay, passed. On to 4C, review and discussion of employee appreciation.
Ms. Mayor.
So the board tasked us with putting together, and as part of our strategic plan, an employee recognition committee. Last year, the board recommended, and it was approved through the county board, that we receive $10,000 for this program. So we do have an employee staff that are there as the committee. They meet. Right now it's weekly, depending on what's going on, because we're having an all-staff meeting and Employee Appreciation Week is coming up. So a lot of planning is happening. So they did put together kind of what they're doing, how they established the committee, what it means, what they want to do. What we have run into is, per the IRS code, for each anniversary, we are able to allow a person to pick a gift at a certain dollar amount. So in your packet is a brochure of what they're doing for 5-year, 10-year, 15, et cetera, and what people can pick out. Staff is, the committee is getting feedback as far as what staff is saying that they'd like some different things. And if we are doing things during Employee Appreciation Week to show recognition, what are the parameters? And when the board kind of gave us that budget of $10,000 for employee appreciation and recognition, we would like feedback on, what does that mean to you? What should we be doing for them? Or how did you see that money being expended? We're trying to work with the auditors, and when we tried to do things like gift cards, we, kind of hit a brick wall, and I get it. But we did kind of poll the staff about, if you get a gift card and there's taxes taken out of it, are you good with that? And they were. So are things like that the vision that you had set for that money, and what direction would you like to give us as far as giving this committee on what types of recognition you would like to see employees get?
I'm amazed. I think it's great that I see this list, there's all these things they can choose from, there are different value amounts. I think number one thing is that there's a committee of employees who are actually working on this.
I still think the gift cards are the best. I do. I just think people appreciate that. And I don't know what direction you want to push people into. I mean, I don't know amounts, but I think people, if you give them a gift card and they can use it for what they want to, whether it's food or whether it's at a grocery store or whether it's at the fast food. I mean, I think that is what people look for. They don't, it's nice to have presents, but my goodness, I have 60,000 water bottles, right?
Right.
And I mean that personally, I have 60,000 water bottles. So I just think that the gift card is probably, from what I have heard and know, that's probably the way I'd go. Even with the reduction of the taxes.
A gift card or.
Sure, we could do anything, and we're also giving like
Or some combination
5-year
of-
pins,
Combination
10-year
of-
pins,
Yeah.
different types as well.
So a choice between the gift card or one of these.
And again, are they broken up by amounts? I mean,
Yeah, we-
exactly. Here's a gift, or you can have a gift card to the amount equivalent minus taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I would offer both, then you can just even see what happens. If 80% of people are doing gift cards, and okay, next year we'll just do gift cards.
Well, and the other thing is, for Employee Appreciation Week or whatever other kind of events we do, if we, have a game or a contest or something, you would like to give somebody more than a piece of paper to go, congratulations.
Exactly.
It is a gift card for one of them.
You should talk to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
$10 million.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun. But, a gift card for the winning team or first, second, third. I mean, I think it makes it a little more, we're not going over the budgeted amount. I mean, we want to be clear on that. We know our parameter and what we can and can't do.
Yeah.
And within that money, that does include, a lunch for Employee Appreciation Week. This year, like I said, that'll be the 18th. We're gonna do a breakfast, so kind of switching it up so they're not doing the same thing, or, it's a little bit different. And last year, they really went all out. It was a beautiful theme, Halloween, beautiful luncheon with games galore, but we couldn't give anything out to them, kind of for, those who dressed up or whatever kind of other games we had during that week. So we'd like to be able to present, the winners with something, so.
are they still taxed if they take one of the items? Or only if they get a gift card?
No, they're not taxed for the items, just the gift cards.
Because it's cash.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and for, these are all through Amazon. We have an agreement with Amazon. We are not taxed because we're a non-taxed entity, so they get the full value of that.
Right.
However, a gift card is different, and that is a cash value, so they are.
Well, I think there's value in having the choices, right? If they find something they like, great, but nothing better. there's nothing worse than, hey, you want something, choose from one of these 8 items that you don't want any of them.
That your situation is that cash is better,
Yes,
whatever that means. Yeah.
right. At least it
I
gives them the choice, and their choice is,
yeah.
you get the full value of this item. If that's
Choice
what
is
they
good.
love, is that speaker, then perfect. All right, I think it's great, and I think the most important thing is that the committee feels supported. I would hate to take the wind out of their sails and say, oh, you could do this, but not that. You've already set the limit on the money, what's it matter?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So,
agree.
were you just looking for our input on the topic,
Yes,
or would you like a
absolutely,
motion?
and direction, and then, you know, when we bring this to the Board of Health, kind of having their backup too. That way for the auditors, I have it in the minutes that this is the
Yeah.
direction you've given us, and
Yeah.
then
Okay.
Can we just have the minutes reflect that we support the employee committee on it, and whichever avenue they find most prudent and effective in encouraging people and recognizing their, you know, our appreciation, then that's the way we want to go. And gift cards are absolutely acceptable.
Possibilities.
You want us to put this on the board agenda too?
Sure.
Right, so you're
Yeah.
recommending that to the
Right.
board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a simple, it's just a byline, it's that simple. All right, any other questions or concerns?
That's helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, so executive session, we will need to go into executive session. I don't anticipate, do we anticipate any need for staff afterwards? I don't think so, right? No. Thank you guys so much for being here. Sorry
Thank
to keep
you.
Have a nice evening.
Have a great week. Let us get a motion to go into executive session to discuss past minutes, the employment contract, and discussion of the audit. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, second.
Second.
There's a motion on the table to go into executive session to discuss the possible executive session personnel committee meeting minutes from 10/7/24, as well as the ongoing employment contract, as well as the ongoing audit discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right,
Mr. Markson,
yes,
I
ma'am.
need to shut down.
Yes, yeah, thank you. We are going to executive session.
Will you call Tracy, Melissa?